And then as you'll notice at the end of it, I asked Jerry what her perspective was now on that relationship. And she seemed to have more clarity, more insight, more willingness to access that wise part in her that is more than happy to let everyone and everything in her life have the freedom and the liberty to be and act and live as they are, essentially. Yeah. And so, it's obvious that I could have just given her that advice from the very beginning, right? I could have just said, well, your friend's just doing her thing and that's what she needs to do. And you need to let go, right? I mean, maybe people give that kind of advice all the time. But saying those words does not give her the experience of it. So what's important with what we're doing here is we're not giving advice, we're helping people to access that knowledge. And this is a knowledge that goes beyond the mind. It's a knowledge that goes into every level of your being, into your body, into your energy being. It helps you to recognize capacities in your deepest being, in your soul. That capacity, for example, to easily and joyfully let everybody else have the freedom to live their life the way they need to, and to not assume that we know what's best for everyone. And our egos don't know that at all, right? I get triggered that way a lot. I find myself going into, kind of maybe not outer advice, but thinking, oh, she should do this, and I have to catch myself, and it's taken a long time, especially, when we're doing things like this, when we're touching into greater joy and greater freedom and greater authenticity within our own life. Sometimes we just want to share it with everybody, and we want them to get it. I find that with food too. I mean, so many people that I know are suffering from health issues, and it breaks my heart. And I want them to do it, but as people just aren't ready at times. And of course they aren't. If they're not there, they're not there. So I think it's important to recognize that in our wanting to control others, it's actually, if we look at it very deeply, it's coming from a really good place. It's coming from that place in us that's recognizing the other's suffering, and that's really wanting that person to be happy, to be healthy, to be free, to be at peace, especially when we've had tastes of it ourselves. But the question is what is the best way to teach someone about their capacity for evolution, for growth, for authenticity, for freedom? And honestly, I mean, you're going to have to find that out for yourself, but honestly, I've found that it's just by living it. And also by doing the work ourselves. So anytime we're wanting to give advice to someone, if we get really honest, or when we're wanting to change someone or draw them into what it is that we're doing, if we look really closely, we'll see that there's something in us that's being stirred up here. There's something in us that somehow I find oftentimes when I'm trying to convince people of something that I'm doing in my life, to join me with it or to do it as well, it's because I'm still not secure in it, or I still have doubts, which is completely fine. But the point is that that's the work that needs to be done. I need to acknowledge my own doubts. I need to acknowledge what this person's disinterest in what I'm doing is triggering in me. It might bring up self-worth issues. It might bring up self-doubt, somehow I know for myself, I felt that like if I could convince people to come and do the same things that I'm doing to improve my life, that I wouldn't feel as lonely, or I would feel more confident or something like that. And it actually doesn't work that way at all. Uh, I find even when I, say offer a course or a program, and there's a lot of people doing it, yes, the ego can tend to get puffed up and feel really good about what it's doing or the influence that it's having, but ultimately it doesn't hold any lasting nourishment. And in my experience, it's always come from continuing to do my own work. And what happens in that is that as you begin to settle more deeply within yourself and within the truth of your being, there's less and less of a need for people to be or do anything different than they are. Like the soul just doesn't have that capacity. So it's a very rich place that Jerry is describing here, with a close friend, where there's sort of a parting, because there's maybe a moving in different directions, not better directions, and sometimes I found with some of my relationships there is that happens, and then if I could just continue to live my own life and do the work here, sometimes it comes back together, and there's a kind of a like a newfound relating from a different place. And the other person has often gone on and had experiences that enriches our relationship as well. So who am I to say that their path needs to be the same as mine? But yeah, souls come in and out oftentimes, and even when we're in relationship with someone and we're living in the same home, there can be that kind of splitting off as well that happens, and it can cause a lot of fear because we don't know what that means for our relationship, right? So if for example, in this, as a result of this course, you're doing some work, you're growing, you're seeing things in a different way, but you're feeling maybe a little distant from your partner or from your kids, it can evoke some fear around what that'll mean for our relationship, and it can evoke a sense of wanting to tug the partner along, right? To kind of pull them in, kicking, screaming, it doesn't matter, just but it doesn't work, and it's an unwise use of energy, and I think the best way to lure people along, if there's even that's happening, is to really enjoy ourselves in our journey, and to be that light by living our light. And people come, people won't come, but it won't matter to us. It really won't.